How did it go with the groups? A lot of spirited discussion. Isn't the code fun? I've been swimming in the code the past couple of days, getting ready for this, and found some very interesting things at University Code, but that's another point. But let's go to our online folks first, since you guys always get forgotten from being online, so you're gonna take center stage.
Is anyone taking?
And I hear Horst was taking notes for this group. Is that true, Horst?
He's muted. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Horst
yeah,
is here.
I'm back. Sorry. Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
good.
Sorry, guys. We have samples in the freezer that I have to take out at regular intervals, so I'm in and out in the meeting a little bit. So, but anyway, I've got most of our online discussion here. So we went through the pros and cons, and just quick summary. I think some of the pros, that we think are actually not pros. We talk about institutional consistency between a PNT and an art committee. And I think there's actually more consistency when you have an art committee, where you have people dedicated to that task, than actually the whole PNT of the full committee. Because if you look at our department, think about how many new hires we have just in the last 2 or 3 years. So that actually introduces a level of inconsistency rather than consistency. You look at the whole PNT committee, for example. We also think that there might be less buy-in, I think I would say, for a whole committee being involved in the review process of candidates than, for example, the committee that is dedicated to it. And we see a little bit of a risk there. Maybe faculty are not involved in midterms, but then they get involved right at the last minute and raise issues that then could create problems that could have been solved earlier if there was a dedicated committee, for example. We also think that without an art committee, there is definitely more responsibility to the faculty at large. But it's also easier, I think, for a faculty member to say, look, there's 20 of us, and I really don't have the time to do a thorough review, and then excuse themselves. Whereas if you have 5 members on an art committee that, they want to be there, they want to serve, they want to help the candidates, it's a very different engagement, I guess. I think there's also a need for, if we go to a full PNT committee, that there's more responsibility basically for mentorship. Mentors have to step up and be much more involved in the whole process and guiding the candidates towards promotion and tenure than it maybe has been in the past, maybe it's currently. And I think that's a big responsibility. And we think if we go that route, that those type of mentorships have to be recognized by the department as a service. And likewise, I think if we stay with an art department, that the work that the art committee members do also has to be recognized as a service to the department. I'm sure it's already done, but we just want to reiterate that. Let's see. One of the things we thought was that with an art committee, there's more of a personal touch with the candidates, because there's 5 committee members who meet with the candidate and help them along the way. That is a little bit lost when you do the whole committee, a PNT committee. Again, that's where the mentors need to step up and provide guidance and be more involved in the whole process.
Horst,
Yes?
sorry to interrupt, but did I hear you correctly that your understanding is that the art committee meets with the individual candidates?
Well, at least there's a midterm review, right?
Yes, I think there's a midterm review of just the materials that are provided. I don't believe there's any sort of in-person consultation. Is that historically correct?
I'm unaware. That's for my case personally.
I don't disagree that that would be an awesome practice, but I don't think that's happened.
I would agree it has not happened, but there's direct feedback to the candidates from the art committee historically. But that would be a tweak possibly if we were going to retain in our committee is how we structure that. Maybe that should be a component.
Dave, how would that be different from the midterm review from P&T committee?
And my personal thoughts are, I just think that you have a lot more personal touch for the candidates when you have a dedicated committee that can address all the faculty year to year. So it's even before the midpoint of in their career or tenure promotion process. So they get that personal feedback, written form or whatever, if we were to change that part, on a more ongoing basis, at least annually.
Dave, there is a term for each members. There's a 3-year term currently in our code.
Now there's 5-year terms.
5.
So we rotate one off per year the way it's supposed to be run. And so you have consistency from year to year with 4 people returning and 1 rotating off each time. Unless they're reelected.
In the last 18 months that I was here, we have had 2 committee members who resigned from the committee. So that's why we've had, elections of our committee members.
From a historical standpoint, that was not the case. There was certain circumstances created all that. And part of it was just making sure that the committee terms were recognized and when that process needed to be dealt with through elections.
Okay, any other comments, Horace?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
going to open it up to the other committee members in case I missed something that I should have said.
I think you
Nothing
covered
else?
it pretty well, Horst.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Thanks. So who wants to go next? Are you a group?
I know it's full profession.
I can go.
I can't remember the groups. So, yeah.
I can go for our group.
Yeah.
So our group is Shannon, Lindsay, and Kelly. So we had some similar discussions. I think actually a lot of what we discussed is, I heard some similar things there, but maybe from a slightly different perspective. So we ultimately started with the fact that collectively we agree that we should align. We should, as a department, align with the university standard practice, which would be moving away from the art committee as it currently stands and adopting the so-called P&T committee, where with the major distinction being that each individual faculty member is voting on the candidates instead of voting on a committee recommendation. Like that was the key distinction there. However, we had similar discussions about the values of having a committee like the art committee or a subcommittee of the P&T perhaps, that could provide some of these more in-depth, thorough evaluations and touch points, as Dave pointed out. And so we also discussed the importance of moving to this model. We also discussed the importance of mentoring committees and having mentoring committees be more formally assigned. And the need for those mentors, faculty mentors, to play a larger role in the process. So a couple points that we noted down was one, the mentoring committees are key and important and should be assigned for all faculty going through the various stages of the project. Everyone should have them. And then I appreciate the point though that this needs to be then reflected as part of our service. So it is a big lift to provide that mentoring. And so that needs to be sort of recognized and valued. So thank you for pointing that out. The other thing that we talked about was that the PNT committee at writ large, which would be then everybody, we still need to have structure. There still needs to be a chair and perhaps even a co-chair of that committee that provides leadership, like that leads meetings, that collects comments from review, that draft summaries, and like is in charge of like managing with probably Melissa and Bungland, help managing the timelines and communicating that, and just kind of being the point person. So that, I think we still need that. And then we talked about this idea of subcommittees, which would fill some of these other things that the art committee did. So, and we talked about the potential of maybe we need two subcommittees, one for Hort and one for LA. That would be provide guidance. You know, maybe they would be the ones that would do the midterm review.
What about environmental work?
Well, you would, I think that would be
It's Hort.
under Hort.
Other environmental board.
In my mind, I would, but I mean, we actually didn't go into that nuance. And maybe that would be something to discuss, like where would you feel you would, or
Like just each major.
I don't know that each major, I think that what we were discussing is like the challenges of like between what most of the people in Hort do versus what LA does, like this, like jobs are very different. I personally, like, I'm just speaking for me, I find it challenging. And I don't have a lot of confidence in my ability to effectively evaluate someone's creative works and the value of those and the impact. And so I don't know where you guys would have to be a point of discussion, like where would you best fit if we met with something? But I think we did go into that and probably assumed you would be on the Hort side. But the idea might be that was just one idea we discussed as a potential idea. Maybe those subcommittees would do the more in-depth midterm reviews in addition to the mentors playing a bigger role and the annual reviews from the department head and doing some of those more intentionally describing, you know, what do we call it in the when we were talking about the individual
Scholarship.
Scholarship impact, yeah.
your individual scholarly plan that you kind of articulate and it evolves over the years. And that's something we discussed with the department head of training review. So like the combination of all of those things. But then that idea would be then though that all members of the PNT committee there's still an expectation that at the end of the day, when it comes to promotion and tenure, we're all responsible for reviewing packages. With this additional information, there might be a summary from the subcommittee. There'll also be the promotion and tenure talk, which we noted was a really positive change we've made in the department. And that we noted that all of these things collectively would provide more transparency to the process, especially for assistant professors. Like they can see then someone else going through this, they can see their tenure talk, they can see, I don't know, does someone know, like, are they allowed to see, they can't vote on the packages, but they can see the packages, is that correct?
No.
They can't see the packages.
They can't see the packages?
they're divided to see the buckets.
Is that a rule?
I never saw the buckets, assistant.
In interval, what you talking about, let's say.
Assistant professor cannot see the bucket.
No.
They're not
Is
divided.
there a rule that they can't, because we were talking about that's like a benefit, right? Like, maybe you can't vote, but if you can see the package, you can see a summary, you can see the outcome of, like, so you have an idea of like how
Everybody's up level or higher.
peers are being.
Used to be that you had access to that information. You had
I
access.
think you can ask always for a bucket.
You can. So that was something we thought would be a benefit, so maybe that's something we could decide to share, like, so that they can see, like, okay, so like, this is what a package looks like. This is the feedback this person got. And so this is what I can, so you can start to, so it's all very transparent. And it's not this like hidden black box until you're ready to go through it yourself. We thought that would be a benefit. That was one thing. Did I forget anything or misrepresent any of our discussion? I ran with it.
I think the only thing we mentioned maybe was a midterm talk at some point, right?
Oh, yeah. So we talked a lot about like the value of the tenure talk and how awesome that was to be able to like hear from their own voice, basically like a summary of their package and what they've done and their impact, and that it would also be good, which I've been trying to do when in scheduling seminars, have everyone go like kind of early on, or mid-20s, and we get to know each other, as a way to get to know each other, and then in push into it.
So that likely, so that would be either the end of fall or beginning of spring,
What do you mean?
for midterm talks.
But it doesn't have to be aligned with midterm. It could just be like some point early in that process. I see. As a way to just sort of promote, like, because I think one of the challenges, right, is we're all doing some different things, so we need to do a better job of learning about what each other's doing. It helps with the evaluation.
In line with the schedule, with the PNT schedule, like, for example, like this year, we're doing the committee discussion today. So it will be beneficial for those going, the midterm talks, doing it at the end of fall semester, like right before. So that at least.
Oh, like just in general.
Just in general,
Yeah.
in general, so that, for the PNT cases, maybe do it at the end of spring or beginning of fall. Because that align with more with the vote in the time. And then the PNT will be the end of fall, so that,
It's loading. Okay, yeah. Okay,
Cool.
done.
Thanks, Team Jessica.
Team
Which team next?
Um,
Hey, Zach.
Team Lori Scott Hansen. And so this is just kind of our short bullet list here. Yeah, first of all, we feel like all these questions and pros and cons are definitely all appropriate for consideration. Some of this, I think, I don't know, somebody knows, I guess, what's going on, but is this really are we being asked to do this, or is this mandated? Or when is the vote going to happen? If this is something that we get a vote on. And, we really felt like, and let me know, I'm just going through our bullet list here, is, again, why is this being done? I think we know kind of where all of this started, but again, is this faculty driven? Is this administration driven, these changes? And then overall, we thought that we either leave it as it is, as it's been done historically, or all faculties involved versus kind of this subcommittee, I think, kind of just muddies it up. It's either all or none, in our opinion. And those are the big areas. I think one of the general consensuses was that we really do have, it's not like a psychology department where we're all practicing psychology, right? We're practicing science, we're practicing design, we're practicing extension, outreach, development. I mean, there's so many things that we do in here that are so broad that it's really important that we have somebody that advocates for us clearly within these groups. And, just as was mentioned earlier here, as Jessica said, she has no idea really how to evaluate something, just as I have really no idea to evaluate other than saying, that's pretty awesome, right? But is that really an effective evaluation? And therefore, is it a better tool to have a smaller group of people doing that versus 20 or 30, however many of us are, just kind of throwing darts up there and saying, yeah, no, that's awful, that's good, because there is no criteria of publications, of built works, of whatever it might be out there. So again, I didn't want to take too many liberties, but I think that's what kind of the main discussion was, folks.
Yeah, we also talked about just the importance of mentorship too, like with the faculty of the whole piece, like it's not necessarily like a committee, but just having that there to help navigate the process is pretty essential. It's not necessarily a committee, but it would just help somebody going through the process, get direction on which areas they need to improve on, whether that is, whatever piece of their plan.
I think we came to so we were thinking that mentoring is very important. And the art committee did that, but we think there's more need for department chair and annual review, formalizing the mentoring committees. And while you were talking, Jessica, I was thinking, if you do the committee of the whole, right, and I'm concerned that when we start to break it into too many subcommittees, it just gets all muddled. So there needs to be clarity. So if we're gonna continue the way we are, there's clarity there. We just need better mentoring still. But if we are administratively trying to align with the university and do the committee of the whole as the whole, then we just need to make sure that I think people will step up. If we do a committee of the whole, I think people will be responsible and step up. I think and I'm speaking for myself, the presentations were good, that idea of a midterm review presentation and providing feedback there. But I think if the art committee goes away, there's more responsibility on the department chair and the mentoring committee to provide annual or semi-annual feedback. And so I think the bigger question is, for us at least, it was that we could talk about this all day. Are we being required to align with the university? Is that a requirement or a
I
desire?
thought the answer to that was yes. Also.
Okay, so
But
then,
I could be wrong.
I
So-
wanted to address that. But
Yeah.
I think this question has been raised in department historically in the past. I know
okay,
Jim Klepp mentioned that it went up or low years ago, but it didn't pass. To have a committee of the whole versus the art committee. So, but I think it's probably a combination of factors, but no one has said you have to.
Required.
So I think it's.
They're strongly encouraging us to.
And who is they? I mean, we are during day.
My understanding from all this process, it was that we don't have rules, not who is doing the evaluation. The main claim was that we have unwritten rules. We don't have a bar. So we were relying on the art committee as an institutional knowledge and mentorship or whatever, annual reviews, midterm reviews, based on some rules that the committee had. And that were kind of mutually agreed, but they were not written. So either we have the art committee or we have subcommittees. Now, if we go to the model, we will have more subcommittees. We need to have rules, and that will be the hardest discussion to set the bar, because I think right now we don't have a bar as a department. If it goes to everyone and we don't know what is the rule for environmental horticulture, say there's a horticulture classic or